Hey, y'all. It's Hater Radio. My name is Chris McLean. I'm here with my co-host, Ian Gibson. How are you, Ian?
I'm doing really good.
So this is week 5. This is the preview show. We're going to start off real quick with a big one. A lot of media hype is going into this FSU team. And, I guess it's granted because of or deserved because of that Alabama win. But the last couple of weeks, they had a bye week, and they played 2 terrible tomato cans, and they, put up a ton of yardage. But Ian, I want to hear your thoughts first before we break down this game. Florida State, Virginia.
Yeah, obviously Florida State, a lot of hype, especially after that Alabama win, and they've been, crushing, the layup games. It was like East Texas A&M, they won 77 something, and then obviously Kent State, they scored 60 on. And on the other end is Virginia. Obviously Virginia under the radar, but they've been a real sticky team lately. They gave a really good fight to NC State a few weeks ago. They blew out Stanford, blew out Coastal Carolina to start the year. And they have, going by the statistics, doing the homework on this, was the interesting thing to note is that Florida State, by no surprise, has the number 1 offense in the ACC. And right behind them at number 2 is Virginia. Both are averaging well over 500 yards a game. And it's going to be interesting to see in this game with Virginia, because a guy like Chandler Morris, the quarterback for Virginia, has been going off lately. He had the 4 touchdown passes against Stanford, and now against this defense, he's going to be really tested. This is obviously going to be the toughest defense Virginia has seen. It's going to be their first big test. And for Florida State, obviously, they're coming off the high of the Bama game, and they're still rolling through it. And we're going to have to see how the Virginia defense responds to these kind of RPO-style plays. The goal is to make Castellanos throw the ball as much as possible, which is easier said than done. Obviously, Florida State's been doing a lot of the jet screens, misdirections, that kind of stuff. The trick is for Virginia in the box to not get fooled. Keep them inside. Don't let them go out to the perimeter and keep them there. If they can do that, they can really create havoc and keep Florida State in the mud. It is in, Commonwealth Stadium. It's going to be obviously a ruckus environment. And I remember the last game, it was a long time ago, but it was like 2010. These guys don't normally play each other because Virginia was on the other division. I think it was 2010. I know they played a few years ago in Virginia, and I think Virginia won that one. And then in 2010, Florida State won that one. So I don't think Florida State has won since 2010, but the matchups haven't been like as frequent as say like a Miami or something like that. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting. I think it will be a shootout, and if it does come down to a shootout, I'm going to think Florida State would win that one. But Virginia, the key is to get enough stops, make Castellanos throw the ball, and just limit third and manageable situations, which is Florida State has done so well this year. I would probably say it'll be a shootout. It'll be close, but I think defensively I prefer Florida State. So I'm going to give the Seminoles a close win. I think they maybe pull away in the fourth quarter, but I'll go with let's go with a 38-33 win.
Yeah, I'm not that far off from that number, but I don't think FSU fans realize how good Chandler Morris is. I mean, me and you are knowledgeable of him because he was at North Texas last year. Mm-hmm. And, he had over 30 touchdowns and did quite well. He had close to 4,000 yards passing. And he was really the only reason North Texas was any good last year. And, in this year so far, in these 4 games that they've played, they played Coastal Carolina, they played Stanford, they played NC State, and I can't remember if they played another game. But either way, 3 or 4 games. I don't have it in front of me right now. But Chandler Morris is over 70% completion percentage. He's averaging around 260 yards per game. He's running the ball quite well. I think he has over 150 yards rushing so far. Last couple of years, he's had around 250 for the season. So that's already surpassing his normal total average. Like you said, FSU is number 1 in the ACC, but not only are they number 1 in the ACC in offense, they're also number 1 in the nation. And also, not only is Virginia number 2 in the conference, they're number 5 in the nation. So these are some of the 2 best offenses as of right now. Again, Florida State has played 2 tomato cans and an Alabama team that was like figuring stuff out in that first game. So I don't really put too much credence in those 2 tomato can games. I look more at what Virginia has done. They played a decent group of 5 team in Coastal Carolina and destroyed them. That game wasn't even close. They destroyed Stanford. And then in that NC State game, it was actually they had 2 opportunities late to be able to go ahead. And they had one where it was a 4th down stop and another where it was an interception in the end zone. So Virginia more than likely should be undefeated at this point. Now, I will say their biggest weakness is their defense. They're not able to really stop anyone at will. NC State with their quarterback, I believe his name is Bailey, had a really great game. He was running the ball and, had plenty of time back there. There was not much pressure. In the Stanford game, they got a lot of pressure, but that quarterback is not as athletic as Bailey for NC State. So they were able to get to that quarterback. But the Stanford quarterback was able to also throw huge bombs that whole game. So I think in this game, if Virginia is going to play 2 high safety, eliminate some of those explosive pass plays, which Florida State likes to do, and that's a signature of Gus Malzahn's offense is lull the defense to sleep and then strike with either play action pass or something else deep, and then also if they just stack the box. Honestly, a spy and stacking the box, putting numbers in the run game at all times. I'm not afraid of FSU's receivers at all. Like they were kind of average against Alabama. There were 2 explosive plays that gave Castellanos like decent numbers in that game, but outside of those, it was limited for the most part. Most every player outside of those 2 big plays didn't really do much. Now, they had big games against those tomato cans, but again, those are 2 tomato cans, so it doesn't really mean anything to anyone. So this is going to be a test for Florida State. This is on the road in Charlottesville. Virginia is putting a lot of hype into this game. It's a Friday night game. The coach used to be the coordinator at Clemson for a few years back in their heyday. And he was actually co-offensive coordinator with Jeff Scott, which is funny. But they struggled the first couple of years with him. They finally got a really good quarterback. They're 3-1. The defense is probably going to keep Florida State in this game because Florida State will be able to score. I think they'll be able to run the ball effective enough. I don't know if passing the ball will be that great. I mean, they have shown to give up explosive plays, so there is a chance there that Florida State could get some there. But I don't think Florida State's going to be able to stop their offense. Chandler Morris is surgical. Like the guy just like finds open receivers. Plus the receivers are pretty darn good. They're not like terrible power 4 players. They're actually decent power 4 receivers that get open. And some of them, the one guy, number 11 for them, I can't remember his name, but he had a pretty good game against Stanford, a couple of explosive plays. And their run game is actually really good. They are effective, and they had quite a few explosive plays against NC State. So, I don't expect Florida State to make many stops in this game. The game against NC State was basically who had the ball last type kind of game. And this might be the same. This might be a shootout. I favor a home team if that's the case because and also because I like Chandler Morris more than I like Castellanos. Like he's able to run the ball effectively, but I like Morris a lot as a quarterback. Like this kid, I'm kind of amazed that he's really like been under the radar so far this year. He's put up pretty big numbers, and he looks really good in it too. In the one game I don't know what it was. I don't think it was the Coastal Carolina game, but the other game they played. He didn't even play like most of it. So like his numbers could be even better if he played any like more than like a quarter or two in that game. So I don't know. I keep seeing Florida State fans like they think this is going to be a blowout, dude. Like this is going to be a rude awakening. I'm sorry. Like I don't know if Virginia is going to win. I think I'm going to predict them to win just as an upset, just because I think it's got a chance here. But I think Florida State fans think this is going to be an easy win, and they're going to be sweating it out on Friday night. I'm going to say Virginia wins like probably 38 to like 31. All right, next game we've got is TCU Arizona State. Hoover looks really good. I like TCU a ton in this game. Arizona State came back and beat Baylor at the last second. So Arizona State is like, I guess trying to figure things out after that Mississippi State loss. Baylor's not a terrible team, but already Baylor's at 2 losses. So their season's kind of really fallen off to the wayside there. I really like McAllister for TCU. The kid is a stud receiver wise. He put up a ton of yards against SMU last week. And I expect the same in this game. I think, the only real way that Arizona State is going to get in this game is if they can rely on the run game, possess the ball a ton. But, even though SMU was able to score, I still think Arizona State will probably score in this game, but I'm thinking it's going to be like a shootout. But I like TCU in this one in a shootout because they had a shootout last week and they played pretty well. I'm going to say TCU wins like 32 to like 28. What do you got?
Yeah, and the interesting thing with this game is both teams, obviously Arizona State especially, has been kind of predicated offensively on the run while TCU's been more on the pass. But both defenses are actually pretty weak against the pass, and that one I'm going to have to say would be the deciding factor is who has the better passing game. TCU, they've been allowing about 107 yards a game against teams on the ground, which not fantastic, but that's good enough. If you can limit Arizona State to that many yards on the ground, you've got them right where you want them. So you're going to have to force Leavitt to throw it. And Leavitt's a really good quarterback, but I feel like TCU just has the better passing game. So I'm going to take the Horned Frogs in this one. I'll go with a 35-27 win for TCU.
Nice. Okay, next game we got is USC, Illinois. Illinois got trounced last week, and it wasn't even close outside of the first 10 minutes of the game where Illinois tied it on a long busted coverage play. Their offense is good enough to score, but clearly their defense struggles against really good offenses, which, in the Big Ten, there's not a ton of those. So Illinois is able to feast off bad offenses, which is why their defense gets inflated a lot over the last couple of years. I mean, it is what it is. There's not as many good offenses outside of right now, Indiana, Ohio State, and Penn State, and Oregon. That's really it. And USC, we're going to say here. And there's 4 teams that have good offense. The rest of them are terrible. Iowa's offense is terrible. Minnesota's is not very good. Purdue is okay. Maryland is Northwestern terrible. There's a lot of bad. Wisconsin is terrible. There's UCLA is terrible. There are a lot of terrible offenses to inflate their stats. So it looks better than it actually is. And then thus when they play a good offense, they get blown out. And that's what happened here. And so I don't expect Illinois to be as terrible as last week. And conversely, as far as USC, Maava is playing really well, a really underrated season. His numbers are eerily similar to God, can't even think of his name. Williams. What is his first name? For the Bears. Caleb. I couldn't think of his first name. Caleb Williams. Yeah, his numbers are eerily similar to Caleb's the year that Caleb won the Heisman. So, you've got that right now. You've got Lemon going off, had a huge game last week. Jordan and Lyles, just the run game for USC is just moving people, and the offensive line is great. Defense, there's a little bit of question marks, some breakdown in coverages there, and like some explosives that probably, if they eliminated last week, would have made the game a bigger blowout. But I think this game is going to be huge for USC because this is their first ranked opponent all year. This is a statement game for them. If they come out and win this game convincingly, if they win by 20 points, you could see USC jumping up at least like 10 spots in the rankings, especially because they have a game next week against Michigan. Now, this could be a trap game where, USC is looking ahead to getting revenge against Michigan, but I don't think that's the case. Illinois is definitely coming back. They're coming back home. They got a home game. They're like, let's rally the troops. But I think USC's defense is good enough to really kind of limit Illinois. I think even though they still might score like 24 points, but I like USC a ton in this one. I'm going to say USC wins like 44-24. What do you got?
For USC, especially the past couple of years, this is the prototypical trap game because it's up north. They have struggled for some reason in these games, and Illinois is coming off a bad loss, and you would think they would be down, but knowing Illinois, they're more than likely going to be coming out swinging as hard as possible because they know that's not the team they were. And I know that I think everybody can agree to that. The thing is, though, is that Indiana, by no surprise, has the number one offense in the Big Ten. Number two is USC, right behind them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the defense adjusts for Illinois to this attack because now we're looking at a game where they're going to kind of go more east-west and north-south than what Indiana did.
Yeah.
And Indiana was more pass-heavy, and USC seems to be more balanced. Mayava, obviously, fantastic quarterback, but you got guys like Jordan, Sanders, running attack too that can keep them on their toes. I think the key for USC, get the linebackers deep enough where you punish them with the run attack and kind of have the run game do most of the heavy lifting, try to, break Illinois in the first half and then in the second half start airing it out. I think they can do that. It's just going to be very interesting to see how Illinois responds. I think they'll respond well, and the key will be for USC not falling into that trap and just expecting this to be a layup game. If they don't, they're going to handle business. But I think USC gets it done very close. I don't think Illinois will go down, without a fight. So I'm going to go Trojans winning let's do like 30-27.
Nice. Okay. Next game we've got is Notre Dame, Arkansas. This is an interesting game. This is the, as I have in my notes, the Lou Holtz Bowl. Because Lou Holtz coached at both schools. I just wanted to make note for USC. It was not Lyle. It was Jordan and Sanders. I think I had mixed that up name-wise. But anyways, Arkansas coming off of losses to Ole Miss and Memphis, and both of those games were really close. They fumbled those games away. They had the ball and were driving against both Ole Miss and Memphis, and they were in like the red zone with little time left to be able to kick a game-winning field goal against Memphis, and they fumbled the ball. So, they're right there. It still stings that they lost both of those games, but I think Talon Green is a really good quarterback. I think he's going to be able to throw the ball against Notre Dame. They've not really been able to stop any really offensive passing attack. Purdue looked all right passing the ball against them, and so did Texas A&M, obviously. The only really one that they kind of limited was Miami, but Miami, Beck is, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Beck, and I think their offense is struggling passing-wise, especially against all those turnovers he's had lately. But Notre Dame will run the ball well because Arkansas has given up a ton of yardage last couple of weeks, and I feel like Notre Dame with Carr should be able to manage this game. I mean, Arkansas is playing for their coach's career at this point. I don't think it saves them. I think, Notre Dame wins this game. Not big, but I'm going to say like a 7-10 point victory. So I'm going to say like Notre Dame wins like, I don't know, maybe like 34-24. What do you got?
This is my upset. I think Arkansas will get it done because Arkansas has shown at the very least, yes, it was their fault for blowing that lead to Memphis and not getting it done against Ole Miss. But they put points on the board. And for Notre Dame going through, I remember I read somewhere, Notre Dame has given up 98 points in the first 3 games. That is the worst start defensively since 2007, where they went 3-9.
Wow.
So now you're dealing with an offense which we know is good, and with a quarterback like Green, as mobile as he is, and can still sling it, it's going to be real interesting. I don't think Notre Dame can keep up, honestly. This would obviously be a huge test, and if they are more than welcome to prove me wrong, this is the game to do it. Because I know Arkansas has got a really good offense, and I know offensively for Notre Dame, I know what I'm getting out of them. They're a very balanced team, and they'll be able to put points, but I don't think they're going to be able to put up enough points against Arkansas, especially because, like with Illinois, they're going to come out firing. You lost 2 games on the road. One of them you shouldn't have, just straight up. You should not have lost that game to Memphis. And now you're fighting for your coach's life. So there's more on the line for Arkansas than Notre Dame. So I think Razorbacks get it done. And, yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to have to do some serious soul searching because I think Arkansas just puts up too many points. I'm going to go with let's do like 38-31.
Nice. Okay. Louisville coming up against Pitt in Pittsburgh.
RIP Big East.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's an old school matchup. The numbers in this one, like I'm seeing Louisville limited offensive output against 3 bad teams that they played so far. Primarily looks like because of 5 turnovers, which is not a good start to the year, especially against bad teams. This is their first real game. Miller Moss is at quarterback for them, formerly at USC. He's put up decent numbers so far in a couple of the games. Pitt lost to West Virginia in a close one after being up by 10. Holston had nice numbers in that game, the quarterback for Pitt. He did have 1 pick in that game. They couldn't run the ball very well against West Virginia. And then they also allowed West Virginia to run all over them. And they were not great on conversions in that game. This is a tough game because I think a lot of people have high hopes for Louisville this year. And Pitt is just kind of like, since that loss, no one's really talking about them. Louisville has a game against Miami coming up, so I know they're probably looking forward to that, but they got to take care of business here. I don't know what to make of this Louisville team yet. They haven't played anybody, so I don't know a real feel for them until they actually play someone worthwhile. I feel like Miller Moss is good enough to win this game, but again, he's shown a proclivity for turnovers when he was at USC and seems to be continuing here at Louisville. I don't know with this one. It's in Pitt. There's not much of a crowd at these Pitt games, so it's not much of an advantage, and it's not cold yet, so it's still going to be warm. It's a 50-50 call for me. I'm going to say Pitt. I'm going to say Pitt wins, and probably a close one. I'm going to say like a 28-24 game. What do you got, Ian?
I would say in this one, Pitt has been having to rely on the passing game a lot, and it has been very good. They've averaged about 350 yards through the air, but the running game has been a real letdown. It's just not good. We saw that in the West Virginia game. They couldn't get any momentum and became a very one-dimensional offense. On the other side, Miller Moss, we saw his talent at USC, and he definitely has it and can be turnover prone. But Louisville has the 2 Browns, Isaac and Kajon Brown at running back, and the running game has been really good for Louisville. Not to mention, too, Louisville's defense, I think, ranks in the top 10 in passing defense. So I think that's going to put up a big roadblock for Pitt on any momentum they're going to have in this game. I'm going to take the Cardinals winning. I'll go with I think they'll hold Pitt. I'll go with like a 28-14 win, Louisville.
Okay. Now we have the big part of the schedule because there are a bunch of big games this schedule. We didn't even mention that at the beginning because I really wanted to jump into that FSU Virginia game, but there are some huge games on the schedule the rest of the show. So Ohio State, Washington. I want to hear your thoughts first, Ian, before I break down some stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because this should be a Rose Bowl matchup, and they're in the same conference.
Yeah,
crazy times. Yeah, obviously Washington. It's in Seattle. Very tough environment. We remember years ago when they made that run. Washington started off very good, 3-0, undefeated. Now they've played a couple layup games. They won the Apple Cup against Washington State last week, and then they blew out teams like Davis. They kind of kept it close with Colorado State, but Ohio State needs no introduction. We know what we're getting with Ohio State, and it's going to be very important. This is their first big road game. It is their first road game, but comparatively speaking, this is the big one because this is again trap game, going out west, get that red eye, and I want to see how the defense does with Washington's offense. You have a guy like Williams at quarterback and Coleman at running back. They've been a really good 1-2 punch so far that we've seen this year. If you need an example, ask Washington State how that went. Blew them out, running all over the field for them. The goal for Washington, like a lot of these teams, is try to keep it at a shootout and get staying and uncomfortable in the pocket and maybe double team guys like Jeremiah Smith and them. The running game hasn't been really great for Ohio State. It's not bad. It just hasn't really been tested. And I think that's going to really be the key here is how well Ohio State does on the ground because Washington's secondary is going to have to key in on the receivers. I think in this one, though, when it comes down to it, talent versus talent, I'm going to take Ohio State. At the very least, if they can't hit the big plays, they're very good at the small game. We saw that against Texas, and they can, just nickel and dime it down the field, either through the ground or through the air. So I'm going to go with Buckeyes winning. I'll go with let's do 31-20.
I agree with a lot of what you said, but I think, with this game, I think the X factor is Damon Williams here. Really, he is very accurate, 73.5% completion percentage in this season. And last year he was 78.1 in limited action. But, he is a dual threat quarterback who is very shifty and also a very adept in the passing attack. So I don't think Ohio State has seen a quarterback like this in the last couple of years. I don't even think they've seen anyone with the proclivity to put up this much offensive output. So I think Ohio State's going to be in trouble in this one. I think they'll be able to score because Washington State was able to score, and they were in that game until the fourth quarter. Washington got a couple of turnovers there, early fourth quarter, and turned it into scores really quick. It went from a 2-score game to a 4-score game in a matter of a minute and a half. So the game wasn't that far off. If Washington State had scored at that point, it would have been a 1-score game. So who knows what would have happened. But no, Washington, with their offense, they are able to move the ball very well. Their running back is not super fast, but he's a big guy, so he'll take a lot of the hits and he can keep running from that. But he's not gonna evade anyone too well. Again, their defense is gonna give up some points, so I expect Ohio State to score. But I honestly think this could be similar to the Oregon game last year where it was a 35-31 game. And I think I'm going to go with that because I think, honestly, I know it's kind of out of left field, but I think Washington is good enough offensively to really put up some numbers here. So I'm going to say Washington wins 35-31 in an upset. I know it's a shock, but as I was just looking at these numbers and like thinking about it, I wanted to hear your opinion, and I wanted to like gauge if I was like right with making that assumption, and I think I'm right. Like I know that Ohio State's defense is strong enough, but the problem is they have not faced anything like this quarterback wise, like in the last couple of years. I don't think they're ready for someone as good as he is. Okay, moving on to LSU Ole Miss. I don't know what to make of this game because we don't know if it's going to be Chambliss or if it's going to be Austin Simmons. But at this point, I don't think it necessarily matters because Ole Miss puts up numbers and puts up points. So I think LSU is going to be in for a dogfight. They're lucky here. They're fortunate because Ole Miss's defense has struggled all year outside of that Tulane game. So I expect LSU to put up some decent points, but not a ton. I'm going to say like LSU puts up like 28, and I'm going to say Ole Miss wins this game like 35-28. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, this is the other one. This was the other like upset, I would call it. Yeah, it is there because Ole Miss is 13. I think Ole Miss gets it done. Last 2 meetings or 3 meetings, I think the home team has won every game in the Magnolia Bowl, and I think it's on the road. It's in Oxford, and either Chambliss or Simmons both, can get the job done. I would prefer Chambliss. He has just looked more comfortable in the backfield. Yeah. But whoever they pick, I got a feeling it won't matter when you have the rushing attack, especially with guys like Lacey just running all over. And the biggest thing is obviously this is the toughest defense Ole Miss is going to play for a while. LSU, really good defense, especially in the secondary and linebacking core. For the offense of LSU, it's been good, not great. We're expecting more. Nussmeier has almost 1,000 yards already. That we knew. But with real competition, I mean, they really struggled against Florida. Florida had a really good defense. Clemson, same thing. So it's going to be interesting to see against these SEC defenses how they adjust. But I think Ole Miss can get enough stops and get Nussmeier uncomfortable, kind of like what Clemson was able to do. Not as effective, but I think they get it done. I'm going to take Ole Miss in a shootout. I'll go with a 45 to like 30, 45-40 win.
Wow, that's a huge score.
I mean, you look at the history of these, it's been like if they don't cross like 50 points, it's a weird matchup.
Yeah, that's true. I know, and I think LSU's defense is a little inflated because Florida wasn't very good, and then Clemson's offense has struggled as well, and then the other two were tomato cans. So, okay, moving on to Auburn, Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M in this game a lot. I think Auburn got kind of screwed, I feel bad for them what happened against Oklahoma, but Texas A&M should win this game because they have a better quarterback play right now. I like Marcel Reed a lot. I think he's going to put up numbers. But the Auburn will stay in this game because Texas A&M is not very good against the run, so they should be able to put up good yardage on the ground. And also Auburn has been good at holding teams to well under 100 yards rushing. So I don't expect Texas A&M to run the ball very effectively, but I like their passing game. Marcel Reed is a very effective passer, and I think he should be able to move the ball well enough to beat them. Auburn's real big thing on defense, besides their run defense, is also doing very well on third downs. So if they have a chance in this game, they've got to stay. They've got to keep up getting off the field and stopping teams on third down, especially in this game. So I expect maybe that to continue a little bit, but still that A&M is going to find a way to overcome that. It's in College Station. I expect A&M to win this game. I'm going to say like a 30 to like 22 game. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, and we've seen this year that anytime Auburn, they've already gone, west of the Mississippi, 3 times now with this game, and both times it wasn't pretty. Now they did beat Baylor, but that game got scary.
Yeah.
And then they, obviously the Oklahoma game with all the controversy involved, Jackson Arnold was still, flat on his back most of the time. So that's going to be something they're going to need to fix. But I like A&M's defense still getting that pressure on Auburn's offense and having to rely on the run game. But if it comes down to it in the fourth quarter in a close game, you can't win like that. So I'm going to go A&M winning. I'm going to go with let's do a 27-17 win for the Aggies.
Nice. Okay. Indiana, Iowa. What are your thoughts, Ian?
Well, Iowa, punts galore. So we know what we're getting defensively for Iowa. And for Indiana, I felt like, again, they just tore up Illinois, and Illinois has a really good defense. And Iowa, I do think, has a better defense than Illinois. But I don't see them having that much trouble, only with the fact of, the only way Iowa could win is if they keep Indiana under 20 points. And I just don't see that happening. Yeah. So I think Hoosiers get it done. I'll go with oh God, do they even get to? Yeah, I'll go with a 31-14 win for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, this Indiana team's for real. I don't know if you people realize how good they were last year, and then in their 2 losses, they lost to the national champion and the runner-up to the national champion. So this team is for real. They're also better than they were last year because Mendoza is a way better quarterback than Work was. So I don't think people realize that yet. I think they've kind of memory hold last year and just blew off. Oh yeah, 11 wins, whatever, blah blah blah. They're not very good. I don't think they realize how good of a coach Signetti is. I don't think they realize how good Mendoza is. I don't think they realize how good both offense and defense they are, and in special teams. They're making plays in special teams, 3 phases of the game that they're just dominating all 3 phases. And you're not going to win many games against a team that is able to do that. The Iowa team, they were fortunate in that game. They got a pick that really changed the game there. Defensively, they struggled against Rutgers. Rutgers was able to move the ball at a decent pace. Their offense was okay in that game. Their offense was terrible against Iowa State. Their defense kind of kept them in that game. And then it's I don't know, with Indiana, I don't think that Iowa has the firepower to stay with this team. It's not even close. It's night and day. I don't know. I think they can put up big numbers. I'm thinking Indiana wins probably 45 to 17. And they'll be lucky to score 17. What do you got? Next one, UCLA Northwestern. Let me get the thing. Yeah. It's been a while. All right. So they fired their coach. Deshaun Foster is gone. Skipper, Tim Skipper is now the interim head coach. Can the offense do anything? That's all I'm really asking. And we don't even know, the health of Nico. I think he was in a boot last time we saw him. They're in a similar spot as Florida, which is striking, but not out of the realm of possibility. We were well aware of these schedules for these teams. But Northwestern is a bad team. And until UCLA can put any semblance of an offense together, I am skeptical. And I feel UCLA should probably not win this game. And I know that is brutal to hear, considering I had them at 9-win season. And I'm at this point, I don't think I'm ever going to do season predictions ever again because I was so off. But it was predicated on the fact that I thought the offense was going to actually do something. And it just has yet to materialize. So until that happens, until Tino Sunseri can figure this out for this team, until Skipper can get some kind of push, some I don't know, just some agitation, some time to like, I don't know, just there's no energy out there. There's no like juice. The team just feels dead and flat, and like you're not going to win many games looking that lethargic. You've got to like really put an effort here and here. And this is a game that they can win. This is not a huge juggernaut. This is Northwestern, who is not very good, but I don't think they're going to win. Just prove me wrong, UCLA. I'm going to say Northwestern wins like 24 to like 17. What do you got?
For UCLA, this is it. This is your best chance. This is your last chance to not have a 0 on the win column for the rest of the year. Because if you look at that schedule, I mean, what is it? Right after this, they got to go play Penn State, and then they're at Michigan State. Then they got – I know they have a game at Indiana. They play Nebraska. They're at Ohio State.
Yep.
Washington, and then they end the year for Battle of LA. So this is it. This is your best shot. God, call me the optimist for the other teams that aren't called Florida, but this – sure, they get it done. They get it done. Somehow, some way, they fall up and they win. I'm going to go with like a – let's do like 20 to 16. Let's do something like that. UCLA finds a way. Although their defense sucks.
Yeah, defense
20 to 16. Which is I don't trust Northwestern's offense enough. So 20 to 16.
Okay, Tennessee, Mississippi State. What are your thoughts?
So obviously this game, Tennessee, they're coming off that emotional loss with Georgia, and I mean they were in it that whole game, and somehow, some way, the Bulldogs sneak through. So hopefully they're gonna, take it out on the other Bulldogs, but it's in Starkville, and we've seen how tough of a place that's been this year. Mississippi State off to their best start since Mike Leach has been, his sudden passing. They got that one against Arizona State. They blew out Northern Illinois, which, I mean, ask Notre Dame how much of a trap game Northern Illinois could be.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee gets it done. I don't think they have a letdown. That would be the biggest thing is after those big losses, you see them with a game like this, they might have a letdown, but I don't think they, let the noise get in their head and they get the job done. I think Mississippi State will keep it, close in the first half, but then Tennessee will pull away. I'm going to go Vols winning. Let's do 30 to 20.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just, it's a nice story, Mississippi State being undefeated, but like Tennessee's just a better team. They've got better talent. Shapen looked good against Arizona State, as did Thompson, their wide receiver, but outside of that, they were kind of whatever. And Arizona State ran all over them too as well. So I think Tennessee will probably be able to run the ball, but I know that Aguilar is going to throw the ball a ton, and also Mississippi State doesn't run the ball as well. So, Tennessee could have this ball a lot because they run the ball effectively, and it could really sway in their favor. I'm going to say Tennessee wins this. Similar score. I'm probably going to say like 28-17 game, or maybe even like a 34-24 game. It's going to be like a 2-score game at least. Okay, Arizona, Iowa State. I'm not expecting a ton out of Arizona, but they still have Fafita at QB. He's been there, feels like forever now. Maybe he has some magic, but I don't know. Iowa State has a really good team this year. They have some good wins against Kansas State and Iowa. Their defense looks pretty good. Their offense is doing enough to win these games. Conversely, Arizona looked good in their win against Kansas State, but I don't know. Kansas State's really I think 1-4 at this point or something ridiculous. And their defense kind of dominated Kansas State. So maybe their defense can keep Iowa State in check, but it's in Ames, right? Ames is Iowa State. Yeah. And I feel like Iowa State should win this game. I'm going to say Iowa State wins like a close one. I'm going to say like 24-17. What do you got?
Yeah, same thing. And it's worth noting, too, that for the Big 10 or Big 12, whatever conference we're in now. Arizona has the second best total defense in the Big 12, right behind BYU. And it's going to be real important because obviously the offense hasn't been what we think of Iowa State, but they're going to have to win this like muddy dogfight that Kansas State couldn't even do. But I feel like both of how they approach that Kansas State game is what we're going to get in this one. And I trust Iowa State just having more talent and kind of bleeding the clock, playing keep away from Arizona. I think they get it done. Like I said, like you said, it's in, Iowa State's home turf. I think that'll have an advantage, and I'll go. I think Cyclones get it done. Same thing with you, low scoring. Let's go 20-14.
All right. Which one of these last two big dogs do you want to do first?
I mean, I'll do the, I hate them the most, so I'll do Georgia and Bama.
All right. I'll let you go first then.
So obviously not as big of a hype as it was last year, but it's amazing to see how the tides have turned in this one. We've, had it where Bama was like this just god in college football. And now, not that they're not that, but they're definitely more mortal than we've seen. And Georgia is the team that just finds a way to win these games. Now they're at home in Sanford Stadium welcoming Bama. These two, it's interesting to finally see this because obviously they're most well known for playing in like a million SEC championships. So it's in Georgia. It's going to be at night. It's going to be a tough place. It's very, very, very important for Bama to get off to a good start. We've seen teams that get off to a bad start against Georgia, and they're just dead in the water. There's no time Georgia will come back. Now, Tennessee got off to an amazing start last week, and look where that ended up. So Georgia's just got that cockroach mentality of they are unkillable. I think in this one, the key will be how well the passing attack it does against this Georgia defense. We saw it get skewered at points against Tennessee, and I feel like with Simpson, especially with Ryan Williams, how well he's been starting to get hot, and especially with how well he did against Georgia last year, Georgia's going to have to be keying in on him, but it's going to be important for them to find the kind of secondary options. And I think for Georgia, getting the big plays will be important, and conversely, limiting it to Bama. That's what killed Georgia, was that it wasn't the nickel and dime, death by 1,000 cuts. It was just giving up those big plays over the top against Tennessee. I mean, this is tough because both teams, talent-wise, are really good. I don't know. I feel like if Georgia was able to beat Tennessee in that kind of game, I think they can get it done at home against Bama. And I think Georgia finds a way to win. Again, they snake a win out of it. I'm going to go with I'll go 31-27 Bulldogs.
Yeah, I mean, this game is going to be close. I think, both of these teams are very talented. I think the talent composite on 24/7 or on 247 is pretty similar. It's probably top 5 for both of them, at least top 10. But no, in this game, I think what leads Alabama to have an advantage a little bit is the fact that Jam Miller is coming back. He hasn't played really. I don't think he's played all year. And so he's going to be ready to go. In that Tennessee game, Aguilar threw for 371 yards. He did have 2 picks, so that does hurt, but 371 yards is a lot of yardage. And Ty Simpson looked really good against Wisconsin. He had those opening game jitters against Florida State, and he had some open guys he missed and didn't make some plays that he could have made to keep drives alive. So he looked a lot better in that Wisconsin game. So I expect that to continue against Georgia. It's going to be close, but my scintilla of the evidence more for whichever team moving in that favor is for Alabama, because Georgia just cannot seem to beat this team. For 20 some odd years, they cannot beat Alabama.
And they haven't beaten them in Athens since 2003.
Yeah, they just cannot beat Alabama. They can't beat them in SEC championship games. Literally, the only game they've beaten them was when Jamison Williams tore his knee in the championship game. That is literally it. That is the only time they have won I can remember. I don't even remember the last time they won. I think they beat Alabama in Alabama like in 2007, the year that.
No, that was 2003 was the last time Georgia won in Athens against Bama. I think 2007 was.
No, I'm talking about
2007 or 2008.
It was Stafford. Stafford had a really good year one of those years. And I'm almost positive it was when they beat Florida as well. They beat Alabama in Alabama, and it was like a close game. And that was almost 20 years ago. And so, like, literally, this team has won 2 games in 20 years, and it's like they play them a ton. Even though they're not on their schedule, they have played in, like, I think at least 3 or 4 SEC championship games and in 2 national championship games. So they've played 6 times, even though they haven't been scheduled, and Georgia's only won 1 of those games. So, like, I don't see it. Until Georgia can consistently beat Alabama, I'm not going to buy it, and I won't buy it now. Even if I'm wrong, prove me I'm wrong. And I'm going to say Alabama wins this game close. I'm going to say like a 34-30 game. Give me your thoughts on this last one, and then we'll call it a show.
Yeah, so biggest game, obviously, for the Big Ten until I honestly think until Ohio State and either Oregon or Ohio State, Michigan come up. But this is as big as it gets because both of these teams, it's 1 and 2 right now. Who's going to take that spot? It's between Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. And this is going to determine who's probably going to Indianapolis. It's the whiteout. We all know how intimidating that is. And obviously, history says Penn State hasn't lost a whiteout to a team not named Ohio State since 2015. And that was against Michigan. So it's a really good record. It's an intimidating environment in Happy Valley. Oregon, obviously, they had that one against Ohio State last year. That was a huge win, but it was in Eugene. And I'm not taking anything away from Oregon, especially because they have been phenomenal to start the year. And Penn State has been struggling. Man, it's really a toss-up because I like both teams, mostly because Penn State's going to have the environment and the crowd on them, and we know that can rattle opponents. But I don't know. I don't think Dan Lanning will have them get shaken against it. I think Oregon gets it done, honestly. I like more in the passing game. It's going to be very important to see how well the passing game does and how well the defense does against the rush against Penn State. So I think Oregon survives. They go into Happy Valley, steal the win. I'm going to go with let's do a 30-28 win. I think it'll be close.
I've been a huge fan of Dante Moore since he was at UCLA. Obviously, we cover UCLA, so I've got a, pretty good perspective of him. He sat out last year sitting behind Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, and he's really matured and really taking that offense on right now. They looked really good last couple of weeks, beating Oregon State, beating Northwestern. This Penn State defense is for real. I know that because Jim Knowles is the best defensive coordinator in all of college football, bar none. It's not even close. And, the biggest weakness for Penn State is Drew Allar. He is a huge liability out there. He's more efficient than the beginning of his career, but he's still he just never comes through in these big games. The playoff wins that they had last year were against SMU and Boise State. They had an easy path to get to the Final Four. They lost that game against Oregon. They lost that game against Ohio State. They're just not good enough when it comes to these big games with him. He's kryptonite. big games are kryptonite to him, so he's not able to really be anything more than just a game manager. But the problem is he makes mistakes in these games, like interceptions, like the interception against Notre Dame in the Final Four game. And so I expect him to make a mistake here or just not to have a really good game. And he's only thrown for 200 yards in these 3 games so far, and they're against bad teams. So it's not really indicative of what he'll be the rest of the year against better teams. But I like Oregon in this one. I think Dante Moore's a better quarterback. I think Penn State has a great run game. Singleton and I can't think of the other guy, but they're a 2 great 1-2 punch, and they'll probably be able to move the ball, running the ball, but they don't have many wide receivers either, Penn State. I like Oregon overall. I think they're not hugely talented like they've been in the last couple of years, but I think their offense has players all over the field that are still effective. They're not as good as they were, with Bucky Irving and Johnson, but I still think they're really good players regardless. I just like Oregon's offense better. I'm going to say it's probably going to be a close one. I'm going to say a 31 to 24 game, and maybe Oregon scores late to go ahead and then takes it. But that's it. That's the show. Reach us at haterradio.com. Find us on the socials. It's just type in Hater Radio, comes right up. Ian, what are your – oh, God, I keep forgetting. We got one more.
Yeah.
G5 Game of the Week. I just added it. This is new. I know we keep remember.
I was like, if you want, I can –
No, I apologize, Ian. I'm just getting used to this. So,
yeah.
Okay. G5 Game of the Week. Go ahead, Ian. Take it away.
So I picked Ohio and Bowling Green. This is the start of both of their conference play, and both are going to be huge. Ohio obviously won the MAC last year, and Bowling Green looking to get there. The reason I picked this one, too, is because Ohio has the number 2 total offense in the MAC, and Bowling Green is in the top 5 of total defense in the MAC as well. So it's a real unstoppable force meets immovable object. It's in Ohio. It'll be – well, obviously it's in Ohio. It's in Ohio Bobcats home stadium.
Yeah.
It's I think it'll be a very good game. Drew Pine is quarterback for Bowling Green, for people who remember him. I like Ohio gaining enough points on the board on this one, but I think Bowling Green keeps up. But I'm going to take Bobcats winning a 31-24 win, and Bowling Green just not being able to get enough stops compared to Ohio.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know much about either of them, but I know Ohio, they played someone close recently, right?
Well, they beat West Virginia.
That's what it was. I knew they
got blown out by Ohio State, but I mean,
I knew they had a good game against a Power 4. So yeah, it says a lot there that they have a chance. I don't know. I'm not going to give a prediction because I don't know enough about either of them. But anyways, follow Ian at G5_Gibson for Twitter. And then what are your other socials?
Yeah, at YouTube and Instagram, it's at G_Gator_G.
Okay, cool. That's where you can find us. Again, haterradio.com, Hater Radio. The show is every Wednesday and Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy these games. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Take care, y'all.